Toronto, St Clair Avenue West, very much led by an environmental assessment report that gives you legitimacy. Even though there's protests and court cases, that does sort of help you, get through the court cases. The Transit City Plan, Mayor Rob Ford got elected on a suburban platform. That was the end of that, but they did manage to get an underground LRT in. And then more recently, we've had the Transit City pilot. And then there's been a whole lot of really, really good data which has been produced during the pilot, which essentially is what you're using to build legitimacy for keeping it long term. That's the purpose of the pilot. But all this amazing data that you can go look and isn't it great? 4.5 minutes, whatever. This is what you're using to build legitimacy. Again, these sort of pragmatic strategies that we're seeing in Toronto on various different projects. And then Boston, of course, I have briefly mentioned this idea of this pop-up, where, again, you do something small and you try and build legitimacy to keep it. But something that's not really going to be too controversial. So what does all this mean? Well, I suppose we'd love to think that, we're pretty close to Zurich and Curitiba, but in actual fact, here we are in car-dominant cities and it's quite hard to get to that sort of stuff. And so what do we need? We need these sort of pragmatic strategies. That's sort of where this project's coming from. Having looked at these cases, we've sort of looked at it through this framework of legitimacy and sort of seen in various cities, even the ones that are highly successful, they are having to use these various pragmatic strategies. And I suppose these pragmatic strategies do overlap. You can have a trial that is using subservient priority. You can mix and match out of this sort of stuff. How do these sort of work on this framework? Well, subservient priority, you're doing something that's not really going to be very controversial, so you don't need all that much legitimacy. So things like, bypass and key jump lanes, hook turns, change even like things that don't affect drivers at all, like moving a bus so that it's all door boarding. These are things that you might not have too much legitimacy problems to do, but you can get some advantages out of. Grade separation, you basically need to get the dollars, I suppose. That's the key issue, is this cost effective? But from a point of view, you're probably not going to have a huge amount of opposition against other street users who are affected. Bottom up and incremental, the thing we're seeing a lot of around Melbourne, where you just do a little bit here, a little bit there. It's very sort of taking opportunities and gradually improving things over time. Trials and pop-ups, so you pop up, maybe it doesn't work and you pop down. Oh, well, go pop up somewhere else. Or we get some legitimacy for the idea of, we're going to try it, and then you try it, and then you try and build some legitimacy for, it was really great. Worst case scenario, you don't get that legitimacy and it goes away again and you try a trial somewhere else. And then this idea of formal inquiry processes where your inquiry process is building legitimacy and then you're trying to use that legitimacy to hold back the potential opposition against it. Hopefully because you've actually dealt with a lot of those opposition problems during your formal process. Probably the takeaway message from this presentation is very much this case that we do need to be paying attention to politics and power and resources and legitimacy. It's not just about the modelling of transport impacts and the modelling of the cost benefits in the real world of trying to get these things through, where you're taking away a parking lane or taking away a traffic lane. Do you have legitimacy to do this? And these 5 pragmatic strategies that we've sort of found through the research, maybe there's another couple of pragmatic strategies that we haven't found that are out there that you might be able to find. These are the 5 that we've sort of come across. And then very much these different types of legitimacy.